Let's try to first understand the impact of technology in each and every sector. How to move the insurance from a tangible business to an intangible setup. Data analytics is going to be the next important thing that is coming up in terms of the business. The customer wants tailor-made solutions which are very, very specific for him. Good morning and welcome to the fifth session in Principles and Practice of General Insurance, where we are going to talk about the recent innovations in general insurance. Let's try to first understand the impact of technology in each and every sector. Insurance is no exception to technology. Insurance is no exception to growth. Because if you start seeing here, the core driver of this change is today's most valuable companies are not dependent on physical assets for their market value. So what is happening here is that now they are moving towards the intangible assets like intellectual property, data, brand and reputation. Now what is happening here from the insurance standpoint is that once upon a time, people were only worried about ensuring the tangible assets, the physical assets, the land, building, or any other kind of activities that were concerned only with the physical process. But today, there has been a rapid shift altogether where people have started questioning about what needs to be really insured. Is it that building that we are talking about, or is it about the persons who are working in that building? Is it about the servers and computers that we need to insure, or is it about the data which is inside it? So the question is now slowly shifting. A recent innovation that we are seeing a shift in the general insurance is that we are moving more towards the intellectual property. We are not just concerned with the physical assets, the building, the land, but we are more concerned about people and data, process and technology. So that's where the general insurance is moving towards. Now, the other thing that we have to see here is that there was a time when people used to talk only about the balance sheets of the company. How much the company has earned, how much the company is capable of earning, and how much is the company making in the last few years or probably in the next 5 or 10 years. But the question that most of us are not able to look into, or probably we have tried ignoring for the last few years, is that what is the stability of the company? How long this company can survive, can stand back, which means going back, we are just trying to understand the BCP. Let me just write down this key word for you, BCP, which stands for Business Continuity Process. How long will the company be stable in running that business? Now, when you talk about that stability, when you talk about business continuity, you need a backup. You need some insurance. You need some sort of coverage that can come back and tell your investors, to your shareholders, that nothing is going to happen. Please don't worry. We are going to do something really good. So we are going to make some changes. No need to worry about it. Let's just focus and keep moving forward. So in that sector, we don't have to worry at all. It will just start moving forward. Now, the next thing is that what are the challenges ahead in terms of this change or the trends or innovations in terms of general insurance? The first thing is that insurers are still struggling to find solutions that address their clients' need to protect the value of brands, reputation, and intellectual property. For many people in India today, the question that is coming in is that how to move the insurance from a tangible business to an intangible setup. Why? Because when I ask this question in my mind, in my thought process, asking this, how am I going to change myself? What is that I'm really looking into it? How is that the change process is going to come up, and how are we going to rebuild this entire system altogether? So the question or the thought process is more and more inevitable from this factor that we are actually trying to build a system, a process through which we can make a tailor-made solutions for the clients. Now, when you start understanding this proposition called as tailor-made solutions, you will try to appreciate on this factor that every insurance company have to redefine the way they are working. They cannot just continue with what they were 100 years back or what they were doing in the last 50, 60 years. But now, the general insurance companies, when they start thinking about insuring the .com companies, the application based. Now, let's say that Paytm as a company wants to go in for a general insurance. What is that Paytm will be looking into to insure? Is it about the people, the millions of users, or it's about their app? Is it about the technology? Is it about the connectivity? So now what is happening is that one man solution or one solution fits all is not what the general insurance can rest back. It has to come up with tailor-made solutions that is going to be unique for each and every company in India, in the world. So now what is going to happen? Most of the companies are struggling in terms of adapting to high-end technology versions, coming up with better solutions so that every one of them can get a better value. The other thing is that this poses a challenge to traditional insurers who are already finding their business model to be threatened by the insurance tech-oriented companies. Now, let us just have a small appraisal here or a comparison here. When I talk about companies like New India Insurance versus that of the recent company like ACO. Now, the difference between both these companies is quite large. Why? Because when I talk about a New India insurance company or an assurance company, they were all people who were traditionally following certain practices for the motor vehicle or for any other kind of general insurance, especially when I talk about the motor insurance altogether or the two-wheeler, four-wheeler insurance. Now, when you look at ACO, they have an entire different philosophy. ACO is able to provide you insurance in just 3 steps using your mobile phone. ACO is able to give you solutions within hours, within days in terms of getting your claim done. Whereas if you go towards New India Insurance or if you go through the Oriental Insurance or any other older insurance company, you will not be able to get the same kind of service, same kind of delivery. With ACO having a mobile phone and you are able to load everything back, is something really wonderful. You are able to run the system with just going on with your technology. You don't even have to go through any of their branches. You don't have to stand in the queue. You don't have to carry shades and huge amount of documentation at all. So what is happening here is that the older model based companies are suffering from the challenges that are coming in from tech-based insurers. They are taking a step forward in terms of putting the insurance right into your pocket and you don't even have to worry about it. And you don't have to remember the numbers or you don't have to remember those long 16 digits and 20 digit numbers at all. All you have to do is just have the application installed in your mobile and you will be getting the insurance benefit in few days or in few hours altogether. And that is also in other ways an opportunity to redefine the industry's value proposition. Why? Because once if you start looking into the general insurance business, there is a huge amount of opportunity that have started coming altogether. Why? Because people have now started looking into these factors of how we are going to rebuild the insurance, how we are going to take this insurance industry forward, because there's a lot of challenges that is coming in, there's a lot of thought process that is coming in, and people want to take this as an opportunity to grow and build this system. So when I look into this assurance value, when I look into the industry proposition altogether, you will be able to understand that over a period of time, insurance is definitely providing a huge opportunity, a huge platform for development, for innovation, and to come up with better ideas. So in this sense, I would say that this is definitely a sunrise sector which is going to provide opportunity for millions of people to come in future. Followed by how to deal with challenges. So if you are an insurance company, how are you going to deal with the biggest word that is threatening you, called as change? So delivering a service that prioritizes risk prevention will require major shift in how industry has traditionally viewed its value proposition. So the first thing is that the value proposition that has been delivered by the general insurance companies till now has to change. Which means the general insurance companies will not be looking into physical assets anymore as value proposition. Rather, they will be looking into companies, they would be looking into data, intellectual assets, or probably, the advanced versions of assets which would deliver their value proposition. Second thing is that now when you look into the risk prioritization factor, let me just bring you the recent challenges that have been happening or that have been facing with the industry. When we talk about HDFC Bank, once upon a time, this bank was considered to be the apex, the leader of private banks altogether for the norms, for the regulation, the functionality, the quality of service. Of late, HDFC Bank has been on the troubled waters because of the data outage. There has been a question on the quality of assets. There has been a question on the data privacy, or probably on the internet services which they have been providing. So there's a lot of threat that has been looming around this particular bank. So tomorrow, when you start looking into ensuring a bank like HDFC, which does definitely want to have a stronger cyber security rules, which wants to have a better quality of assets, and which also wants to have a better norms for functioning, when you want to ensure this kind of a bank, the value proposition is entirely different. Why? Because the risk that is being looked into for this particular kind of industry is entirely different from the other industries. So now what is happening is that the insurance companies must first try to understand what kind of risk are we trying to address. Because if we are just going to assume risk to be a general proposition, the risk which is applied to that of Reliance will be the same risk faced by Infosys, then I am absolutely going wrong. What I need to do here is that I need to assess Reliance separately, Infosys separately, HDFC Bank separately, because all the three of them are from different sectors. So the risk proposition has to be clearly understood, and then I will be able to propose a suitable insurance coverage for you. The second thing is that they need to rethink the role they play and what are they bringing to the table of the clients. Why? Because earlier, if you start understanding insurance as a sector, as a proposition altogether, insurance ideology was very, very simple. You just insure it and you forget it. Why? Because in case if there is going to be a struggle, if there is going to be an attack, if there is going to be something really concerning, then you are going to run back to the insurance company, or else it is a forgotten story altogether. Once you're paid the premium, once the documentation is done and you get a confirmation saying that the insurance process is over, then you're not going to worry about it anymore. But today, it is not like that, because the insurance companies want to be a part of the everyday operation. They want to be a part of the business, what we are talking about. Why? Because let us try to understand that the insurance company actually want to leverage their data to reduce the risk and prevent losses. In terms, let us try to understand that everybody wants to touch upon this word called as analytics. Why? Because analytics is now coming up. This is a very, very important thing because data analytics is going to be the next important thing that is coming up in terms of the business. Every company is surrounded with data, is flooded with data. Now, we do not know which data is important and which data might not be important. But then, the data analytics is actually helping companies to understand their function, their relationship with the customer, and what exactly the company is doing in terms of the survival process. So even the insurance company want to leverage on data skills, data analytics, try to understand how they can reduce the risk from their side and what exactly they can do to their clients so that they are able to build a long-lasting business process. So what is happening these days that we need to understand is that we are trying to transform ourselves into a proactive role rather than just as a reactive organization. We don't want that day when client comes to the office saying that, sir, I want to raise an insurance claim. No, I don't want to sit back and relax. Rather, I want to be a proactive organization coming forward, telling people that what exactly you need to do so that your insurance works better. Now, moving further, let's also try to understand the next challenge that is coming up from the customer's expectation of products and services. And we are going to touch upon this word called as personalized data-centric way and the generalization process. Today, the customer is a person who is a very, very diversified personality. He does not believe that insurance or any of the product or service is generally available, so I just take it and I put it in my pocket. No, I don't want to go in that way. The customer wants tailor-made solutions which are very, very specific for him. So what does the customer exactly expect out of a company, especially from an insurance company, is that will the insurance that you have proposed, will it exactly work for my product or my service? See, if I have to talk about insurance for a company like Ppgi or Zomato, the kind of insurance what they would be looking from that of Flipkart might be different. Why? Because they are dealing with an entirely different sector, though both of them have been leveraging on e-commerce to a very great extent, but the nature of operations is entirely different. So now what happens is that when an insurance company approaches any other organization, they want them first to understand the nature and scope of the business, whom we are addressing, who are my customers, what type of features, what type of benefits, what type of customization they are expecting. If the answer to all these questions are clearly understood, you are able to address them properly, then we will be able to sell those products in a better way. Because insurance is something which is not clearly understood by many of us. We just believe the factor that insurance means you keep on paying the premium till the last, but you're not going to get any benefits unless and until something happens to you. So insurance will just remain an unclaimed value unless and until if something happens to the person who is insured. But now the insurance company want you to understand this factor, especially from the general insurance standpoint, that we are not people who are just going to take your premium and lock it in an account. No, we don't want that. We want you to understand, we want you to come up with each and every step, understanding the nature and scope of business, where exactly we can provide you a tailor-made solution, which is practical, which is applicable, and which can be claimable at any point of time. You need to have that security factor. You need to have that thought process in mind that at any given point of time, there is somebody to back me up. Followed by, because of this, the core insurance product is designed to cover a generalized representation which is very much important, of the likely risk rather than specific risk of the policyholder actually facing. So now what happens is that when you go on a too much generalized process, you are not able to understand the specific risks. So what most of the insurance company tend to do is that they just try to put you on a general mode where they just want you to understand the scenarios and they just propose a general insurance. But then most of the companies come back to these insurance companies saying that we want you to understand the specific risk of our business. So the challenge still remains in terms of transformation and addressing the solutions. Moving further, let's look at the case study and small example here, what we have been trying to talk about. One of the world's leading shipping companies to provide insurers with usable real-time data regarding the position and of course shipping for the real-time accurate pricing of premiums and automation of endorsements, which has been one of the biggest case study. And this dynamic pricing structure actually allows the shipping company to accurately pass on the cost to that of the people whom they are serving, that is the freight forwarders and the shipping owners whose risk it manages. Now, let's look at this case study. Why? Because today shipping and the logistics business is a very big business in the general insurance coverage sector. There are huge ships moving tons and tons of cargo across the globe. But is all of this secured? Is all of this really managed? We have no answers for it. We believe that the answers are yet to be arrived. So what does one of the case study say? That they have started moving into a dynamic pricing policy, which means to say that today when you look into shipping companies, the exact insurance cost is never being measured. They just go on a generalized process. But companies like this shipping company, which has gone ahead, like the NYK liners to give you the example, or when they have talked about companies like MYSURU, which has been a leading shipping company, has gone up with the real-time usage of the insurance value of the goods, how much will be the containers thing, and as it travels down the lane, what is going to be the real-time tracking in terms of the price, in terms of the values of the good, so that for the person who is going to take forward that service, he gets the actual pricing, and also the insurance company which has been doing the insurance for this logistics company also gets an uphand, a first-hand information in terms of how much we really need to insure. Now, shifting perceptions about the value of insurance, which is very, very important. Why? Because the improved level of service will require for the insurers to expand their perspective to become industry's broader business ecosystem. Now, that's a very, very important factor that you need to understand. We need to start moving towards an improved service mechanism. Now, what is an improved service mechanism? Is it that you just going by digital, you become a better service provider? The answer is no. The real way of improving your service is proactively involving your customer into the insurance process. Now, for example, let's try to go ahead for the life insurance itself. Now, in the case of life insurance, until this pandemic happened, nobody was really bothered about taking a life insurance. It was just a mandatory process or an obligatory process that you used to do it. But after the pandemic, people have now started understanding the value of life, and there has been a greater amount of emphasis in terms of the insurance company giving up life insurances. Similarly, when it comes to general insurance, now with the amount of pandemic, with the amount of disasters that we are facing through and the challenges that the nature is throwing at us, we need to understand the level of service that the companies are providing, what levels they are giving us, how they are making the user more aware about the situation, what we need to do so that we can protect ourselves, and how we need to keep the premium at the best level far possible. Now, they must signify and they must also identify that how they can value the chain, that is strengthen the value chain altogether using the existing technological and organizational capabilities. Now, this is a very important point. Why? Because Technology is only a leverage. It's actually a tool that can be used to strengthen your opportunity. You cannot say that technology itself will do everything. You have to use the right technology to reach your customers and make it user friendly so that everybody is able to appreciate its benefits, followed by the organization capabilities. When you talk about those big insurance companies like ICICI Lombard or HDFC Ergo, or when you talk about the Apollo Munich, or when you talk about IFCO Tokyo, these are all sizable organization which has got hundreds and thousands of employees working for them. So when you have an organizational capability that has to be harnessed, that has to be worked out in such a manner that you are able to bring in change at any given point of time. Followed by the ecosystem should enable more tailor-made services, like how I was speaking about the ACO example, so that any client who goes through that is able to get that specific organizational needs, which means insurers might have to specialize to deliver value. So now what is happening is that there are newer areas of knowledge management that is coming inside the insurance, which the insurance companies have to study, have to develop and build it so that they are able to deliver better value in the long run. That means you need to hire even more skilled people who will be able to deliver value in the long run. Followed by the technological transformation that we are talking about. Now, the technological transformation is through a cultural transformation. That's a very, very important word which I would like to emphasize upon. You cannot bring in change without addressing the cultural issues. You cannot bring in change without understanding the fundamental principles. So when it comes to industry of insurance, the fact remains very, very important. The fact remains true. Why? Because when you are trying to talk to an insurer saying that I want to change the industry, I want to bring in a transformation using a particular tool, particular technology altogether, you cannot shake away from the principles. The principles remain the same. You cannot overdo things, or you cannot just avoid certain rules, certain regulations, or certain acts. So what we are trying to do here is that you are trying to improve upon the fundamental process. You want the processes to be made simpler, accessible in nature, so that everybody is able to go through it and understand. Now, when you look into the example of policybazaar.com, now when this website or this app, when you go through that, you will be able to see that they are able to give you options to the customer, which tries to make the customer compare, contrast, understand what kind of policy would be right for me. So what you are primarily trying to do is that primarily you are trying to educate the customer, bring in the culture of knowledge, enhancement, awareness, and then you start applying the technology there, which is going to be an add-on benefit. Just by having an app and a mobile, you cannot expect that the customers will buy the insurance from you. What they want is the awareness. They want the answer why we need to choose a particular insurance. So that means you need to go through in terms of improving your service delivery, and then you will be able to see that. Plus, it needs to be more open-minded, willing to collaborate to stay relevant. That's a very big thing that you need to understand about the concept called as open-minded and say relevant to the modern world. What is this open-minded? Open-minded means to say that, I try to accept things as they are happening. There was a time when the insurance companies used to accept only certain kinds of claims. Now, you cannot suddenly go and claim saying that there has been a data theft. Why? Because there was only a burglary insurance that was available, but there was not a data theft insurance that was available. But today, with the cyber security, cyber attacks coming into picture, data theft is also a very, very valuable option, a valuable claim. So the companies need to accept and understand the modern challenges that are coming in and take it forward in terms of building a customized solution. Now, moving further, the innovations of insurance that is coming in by reimagining how truly we can deliver the customer with better values, insurers have an opportunity to ride on the growing wave of information technology. Now, this is becoming really true. Why? Because with the advent of technology, what has happened is that the insurance companies have tried to move themselves with different products, with different technology, with different claims process altogether. They've also tried to understand that yes, they can reshape the industry as per their needs. So definitely I would say that there has been a greater value proposition that has been happening altogether, and people are able to feel the activity. They're able to see that yes, there is something happening in this. And the second thing is that the value proposition and their role is in the wider ecosystem is about the new rules, the new values of exchange that should emerge, which will serve everyone better, from policyholders to that of the reinsurers. Now, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to customize the insurance vertical to such an extent that everybody is able to understand. The first thing that we are trying to do is that we want to go simple in nature. We want to make things as simple as possible. We don't want to use jargons. We don't want to use big names. What we want to do is that we want to make it as simple as possible so that everybody understands what is insurance and then starts applying for the new insurance. With this, I come to the conclusion of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the information that has been shared through this particular session will be of a great help and resource to you. In the upcoming sessions, we are going to see about the organization management structure of the general insurance company and how the regulatory frameworks have been taken into position. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened forever. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session.